at Sif Dalet. So we're in Tofresh Tzadi Gimel, Sif Dalet, page 319. Okay, 390, Sif Dalet. Metzin Sefer Torah, V'koirin b'parshas Vayover Amalek. Take out the Sefer Torah, and we read the Parsha Vayover Amalek, which is at the end of Parshas Beshalach, right? When Amalek attacked Bnei Yisrael after they left Mitzrayim, they were in the Midbar, right? And Moshe sent Yeshua to fight them. V'avar pi she'ein bo elo tes psukim. Koiflim posek achan k'dei la'ashlim la'asor psukim. Says that we shouldn't read less than 10 psukim, minimum of 10 psukim. And now the Parsha of Vayover Amalek only has 9. Right? It's the shortest laning of the year. It's the only Parsha we have, only laning we have, which is 9 psukim. So the Shulchan Aruch wants us to have a minimum of 10, and therefore he says to double the last pasuk. Hagor. Ve'ein haminag dichpo pasuk achorin shel haparsha. The Gemara says our minhag is not to double it. We don't double the pasukim. We just read 3 for Kohen, 3 for Levi, 3 for Yisrael, 9 pasukim. That's the whole parsha.
Why would we need 10 if each Aliyah needs 3?
It says you should have a minimum of 10 pasukim. We're going to see the Mishnah. We're going to say that there were more holes that sing us here at the end of a topic, and we haven't got a 10th pasuk, so it's okay. You don't need a 10. The Kohen Megillah v'achakach seder kedusha. We read the Megillah. Right? We have laning, afterwards the Megillah, and afterwards seder kedusha asher yivolitzi, without lamnat seich in between, right? Because it says b'yom tzorah, and we said it's not a yom tzorah part. Hagor kshish mila b'purim molim hatinoik koidem kriyas ha-Megillah. When there's a mila on a bris mila on Purim, then we do it before the Megillah. Let's see the Mishnah Berura Cotton. Tes Amalek ad Midorah until the end of Parshas Beshalach Midorah. V'omer Chatzi Kaddish, after laning is Chatzi Kaddish. Sif Cotton Yud ve'ena minag lichpoil. V'av agav dekaimelon ein poich sin me'asor psukim heichet esalik inyono shani. Even though we have a halacha that we don't read less than 10 psukim, however, seeing as here it's the end of a subject matter, end of a topic. The topic, the war of Amalek, only is 9 psukim, therefore it's okay. So Kodim Yud Aleph v'koirin ha-Megillah. V'mevorchen acharei ha-berkos harav esivenu k'dei le'el v'sim tafesh. At the base, after the Megillah, we make the bracha harav esivenu. V'tzrichin kulon lishma bracha. Yesh ma'amenu shoymim oz kaddish achasei Megillah ve'enu nochen. Some people say kaddish after finishing Megillah. That's incorrect. Okay? So the bracha of harav esivenu is also here during the day. Right? It's only Asher Heini, which is not the piyut. Asher Heini, which we do during the night, not during the day. But the bracha of harav esivenu is during the day as well. Sivkot Yud Beis Molin Atino Koidem V'Chula V'Asmachta Lezeh Tichsiv LaYehudim Hoysa Oiro V'Simcha V'Sosin V'Kor V'Sosin Miram Is Al-Mila. We talked about this pasuk that the Jews had light and happiness, and we mentioned this as referring to all the mitzvahs that they could that they did, which is referring to, and Sosin is referring to Mila. Sosin is referring, we talked about Yokor, referring to tefillin, which is why we wear tefillin during the Megillah. And the reason why we do the Mila beforehand is because it says Sosin, and Sosin is referring to Mila. So also we want to do the Mila before the Megillah, so that when we get to Sosin, we've already done the Bris Mila. So there's actually machloikes. Prichotos Negor say that you do the Megillah before the Bris Mila. The MISHNA Berura, which we saw in Tofresh Pei Zayin, paskins like the Ramah. Says the minhag is like the Ramah, that we do Bris Mila before the Megillah. Okay, Bris Mila before the Megillah. That's the minhag. Simon Tofresh Tzadi Dalet.
That's a halacha ma'aseh as we do.
That's before. The minhag is done before. Yeah. In places where the Milah is done in shul. It's a place where people do the Milah afterwards in a hall or whatever, then of course we wouldn't leave the shul to do it. But in a place where people do it in the shul, then one would do it before the minhag is to do it before the Bris Milah.
Before Megillah.
Before the minhag is to do the Bris Milah before the Megillah.
Right.
Yeah. The truth is that I don't know what happens here, because as we said here, they do many things like the Gra. They do many things in Eretz Yisrael like the Gra. And here the Gra is of the other opinion. So I'm not sure. Yeah, so I'm not sure of what they do here in Eretz Yisrael. You'd have to check it. Okay. In the rest of the world, they hold like they were more, and they were doing the meal before them again. So in Tofri studies alle din mois purim la'anim avoid alle tzifim. The halacha of matonos le'evyonim. Tzif ale. Chayiv kol odom litzei lefochos shtei matonos lishnei aniyim. One has to. Every person is obligated to give at least 2 presents to 2 aniyim. Let's see the MISHNA Berura of Cotton Aleph. Remor is a different topic. MISHNA Berura of Cotton Aleph. Kol Adam. Bein Ishu vein Isha. This chiv is both on men and women. V'afil oni hamisparnes min hatzedakah. Das kam achronim tzorch losses mima shenosnu lo. According to a number of achronim, even a poor person who gets money from tzedakah, he has to separate from the tzedakah money he received. He has to give matonos le'evyonim to a different poor person. So Cotton Beis Litein lefachos v'chula. The matonos le'evyonim can either be food or it can be money. The MISHNA says, I don't know how much the present has to be. Doesn't know how much to give. According to the Ritva, one can even give given the smallest amount of pruta, 10-20 agorot, even that is good enough. The poskim talk about how much one should give. They say it should be, the point is that it should help the oni with his sudas purim. So some say it should be the amount that one needs to buy a meal. So there are different estimates given. Some say the smallest amount for a meal is to buy a falafel, 10-15 shekel. Others say 25 shekel, and definitely 50 shekel is definitely a nice, respectable amount. But it's not clear. As the MISHNA says, it's not clear exactly how much one has to give. As we're going to see very soon, the more one gives, the more praiseworthy it is. But we're talking about what's the minimum. And those are all the different estimates given. If he switches his meal with someone else, then he's been used to his mitzvah of matonos le'evyonim. This is good piece of advice for a poor person who hasn't got any money. He gives something from his purim meal to his friend, the other poor person, and he gives it back. He gives to him a different part of the meal. Right? So if they each give each other, then they're both used to the mitzvah.
This is how the poor person can be used.
In strictly speaking, anyone can be used that way. We're advising it for the poor person to do it, but anyone who does it this way is used to the mitzvah. One should preferably give to the poor person something that where he can have benefit from it in Purim. It's preferably he can use it for Sudas Purim. So it should be money or food that he can use on Purim. They're not something which you can't use on Purim. Sivkot and Gimel, Shtei Matonos. So that reason Muzuman is cash is better than to give a check, right? If you give him a check, whereas if it's a check on that day, he could actually take it to the bank that day. But it still take him a few days till they get the money. Doesn't get the money straight away. Right. So it's preferable to give him cash which he can use on Purim.
Like all other mitzvahs, this is incumbent on women separately from their husbands.
That's what we saw at the very beginning. He said, Bein Ish, Bein Isha. It's on both men and women. Both men and women have to give. Right? So men and women separately, but the husband and the wife have separate obligations to give matonos. So each one has to give 2 matonos. So 2 matonos of yenim, meaning 1 to each. Right? And 1 present to each of 2 of yenim. Sivkot and Gimel, Shtei Matonos. Zeu Medina. This is the Ikra Din. But it's very good to increase in matonos le'evyonim. It's better to increase in matonos le'evyonim rather than increase in one suda. And it's better to increase matonos le'evyonim to his friends. There's no happiness greater and more beautiful there's no greater happiness than causing the hearts of the aniyim to rejoice, aniyim yisayim v'almonos, and widows, orphans and widows, v'doime l'shchina, and then one similar to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, shenemar l'hacha yisrach shvolim l'hacha yisrach v'yitkoim. The Pasuk talks about how HaKadosh Baruch Hu tries to is misameach low people who are low and depressed. Okay, so it says the MISHNA Berura is saying that even though we talked about the minimum, what's the minimum one can give? A pruta, maybe 10 shekel, 50 shekel, that's the minimum. However, one should try and give even more than one expends on one su'udah and maton sevyonim, right? And mishlach monos. Of all the matonos, of all the mitzvahs of Purim, this is the mitzvah where one should spend the most amount of money. Right? This is the mitzvah one shouldn't. So one should try and, if one's limited, one should cut back rather on shachmonos. Right? Shachmonos only has to be given to one person. One doesn't have to give 50, and rather increase in matonos avyonim. And increase in matonos avyonim to give more.
Is it let's say one had 200 shekels to put aside from the town, would it be better to be giving 50 shekels to 4 or 100 shekels to 2?
I've never seen anywhere where I've never seen anyone talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
What's better? Don't know. Either way, you're misamech the avyonim.
Right.
I don't know if it makes a difference which exactly. Generally, the way it works is the best way of doing it is giving it to the Gaboid Stocker here in Carmiel, and they have different envelopes. Right? They have different envelopes which go to the aniyim. So you give him your money, he'll split your money between the envelopes he has. So your actual money is going to go to 2 different aniyim.
Right.
It's not that they collect the money and then divide it up.
Right.
They'll take your money, if you give them 2 notes, they'll put one note in one envelope, one note in another envelope,
right.
And then it's going to go to 2 different aniyim. They give it out on Purim, and to try and give it as early as possible. They ask people to give it out, to try and give them money as early as possible before they ask it before 10 o'clock, because they actually give the money out on Purim. And
well, you can give the money today to the. You don't have to do it.
So the Apostle can talk about that. Can one give the money before Purim?
Because I'm saying, no, give it to the
Gavot stock.
To the Gavot.
So they talk about that. Can you do the mitzvah before Purim? Because this is one of the mitzvahs of Purim. I'm supposed to give it on Purim. So what they say is, if you want to give it before Purim, to make it easier, a lot of Gabbai Stocker ask if you can give it before Purim. It makes it easier for them. If you give it before Purim, what you do is you make you tell the Gabbai Stocker that the money still belongs to you. He's your shliach, and the money still belongs to you, and it's going to belong to you're giving it to Stocker on Purim. On Purim,
they're holding it for you.
They're holding it for you. At the moment, they're holding it for you as a pikoton, as a deposit. They're holding it as a deposit until Purim. On Purim, then they've got then you're giving it to them to give out. But till Purim, it belongs to you, and they're just holding it as a deposit. That's the way to do it. Or one can give it on Purim in the morning as early as possible to make it easier for the Gabbai.
Even if you give it beforehand, like a week before, one knows that the transfer will be on the day.
Yeah.
It's just the flow. The mitzvah is going to be.
Yeah. Some hold that's fine. Yeah. Some hold that's fine.
You've done preparation before.
Yeah. Some hold that's fine. As we're saying, to make it good to everyone, it doesn't make it more difficult. It's just to give it, like I said. Anyway, I think the Gaboim, all Gaboy Stocker take it as a given, even if you don't say it. I think there's the accepted thing. The Gabon take it as a given that anyone giving them Matan Savini before Purim, they're just taking it as a deposit, as a pikoton. Okay, let's move on. We're now on the bottom line of the MISHNA Berura. The Matanos Evyonim is called the Dover Shebechoiva. The question is like this: can one give Matanos Evyonim for Ma'aser money? Right, the Ma'aser money, one separates 10% of one's income. Can one give Matanos Evyonim for Ma'aser money? So there's a halacha: the Dover Shebechoiva einu bo min ha'Ma'aser. Something which is an obligation upon a person cannot come from Ma'aser. It has to come from Chulin. So Matanos Evyonim is an obligation; it's not optional. It's an obligation, and therefore it cannot be given from Ma'aser. However, it says the MISHNA Berura, this is the minimum. The minimum matanos evyonim, that has to be from regular money. It may not be from Ma'aser. But all the additional, what's giving additional to make as we said, one wants to try and give extra, give large amounts, that can be given from Maisa. Okay, so the minimum amount is an obligation, that has to be from non-Maisa money, but then all the additional one gives can be from Maisa money. Okay.
Well, what's besides a mitzvah? What else is determined as a chova?
Chova is different mitzvahs.
What's mitzvahs? Not other like a chova for your. Okay.
For example, even if one uses one's Maisa money for mitzvahs, many people use one's Maisa money not just for tzedakah, also for mitzvahs. Right? So to pay for school fees, one couldn't, because there's a chiyuv to educate your children. So therefore you can't use Maisa money to pay school fees, because it's an obligation upon you. Right? Any time that something costs money, right? Even if it's a tzedakah, if they're running some sort of event and they're charging you an entrance fee, you have to pay the entrance fee. It's not optional. So then one can't use Maisa money because it's an obligation. Right? They try to get around this sometimes by saying a donation. Right? The entrance is with the donation of 50 shekels. If it's a donation, that means that they're not forcing you to pay. It's strictly speaking, and in theory you can go in without giving because it's just a donation. So if that's really the case, that someone would go in, if it's just a wording and they're just trying to get around it, but strictly speaking, you could go in and they're not going to charge any money for you because it's just a donation, then it's not an obligation, then you could use Maisa money. But if it's actually an entrance fee actually costs money, then one wouldn't be able to use Maisa money. Sifkot and Daled. No, we haven't read the Ramah. Let's see the Ramah now. Hagah. Yesh oimim sheish litain koidem purim machatzis min hamatpeo hakavua boisei mokum. Some say, and this is indeed the minhag nowadays, that one should give before Purim half of the coin that is fixed in that place. But in that place in that time, to remember the mitzvah of machtis hasheker. So you know from Ba'adar that they would give in Adar. And the Mishnah Shkolim says, "Be'echod Ba'adar mashmim and Shkolim." Right? And the fast of Adar, they would announce everyone should give the Shkolim, and the Shkolim given during Adar, because on the fast of Nisan is the mitzvah that the Korbanei Sibur should be given from the Truma Chadosha. All the Korbanei Sibur over the whole year are given from the whole Tzibur, from the whole community. We want to be given from everyone, that it should belong to everyone equally. It shouldn't be that the rich people have a bigger share in the public sacrifices. And therefore everyone gives equally, everyone gives half a shekel towards the Korbanei Sibur, which are given over the entire year. And the money is collected during Adar, and the new Korbanos were bought from the new money starting from Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Okay?
This was a silver shekel.
This was a silver shekel, yeah. Correct. But even at the time of, even the time when they used to give it, it would depend according to what coin they had at the time. The Mishnah talks about that it wasn't always shkolim. Sometimes it was sloim, sometimes dinuim, taupikin. It depends on, not taupikin, I can't remember the names of the coins. They're different coins.
In Israel, is it a half shekel?
In
Israel, is it actually a half shekel?
Okay, so what should we actually give? Yeah. So here we actually give half shekel. We're going to see that the Ramah and Mishnah, we're going to talk about what coin actually to give. Okay? Because it says in the parasha of Machtis HaSheker, which is the beginning of Parashas Kisisol, it says the word Truma 3 times. Therefore we give 3. Right? Chazal explained that they actually gave their three Trumas in the time, that was the first year. The first year in the Mishkan, they gave 3 Trumas, one for the when they were counted and went towards the Adonim, the sockets of the Mishkan, one for the Machtas HaSheker, which went to the Korbanos, and the third one actually was the Truma to the Mishkan to build the Mishkan, which was not equal among everyone. That everyone gave as much as they wanted in order to build the Mishkan. So because it says 3 times in the parasha, therefore we give 3 half coins. But in the time they would actually each year give one from everyone. We do it in order to remember the time of the first year when they gave 3 trumas, so therefore we give 3 half coins. One gives it on the night of Purim, before davening mincha. So this is the minhag in the whole of, in all these countries, in the whole of Europe, that's the minhag. So in Europe, where you haven't got scholar what you give, they would give half a coin of the coin they had in those days. This is the coin which is called a half. In Medina, every country should give half a coin, which in their country is called a coin, which is called, in their country is called half. Okay? Okay, so this is, once you give a coin that's called a half. So the problem is that some countries you haven't got coins that are called half. In this country, half a shekel is called half a shekel. Right? So it's called a half. So definitely one gives half a shekel. In England, one has to give half a pound because there's nothing else to give. But it's slightly more problematic because there's no coin called half a pound. No one calls that. There's a coin called 50 pence, but no one calls it half a pound. So it's slightly more problematic because it's not called a machtis. One should be given a coin that's called a machtis, it's called half. Right? In America they call it half a dollar. They do, don't they?
Yeah.
That's again, it's that's better. The chi of the obligation is only on someone from 20 years and upwards. Some say that besides these 3 half coins, one gives also half a shekel to tzedakah. But that's not our minhag, we just give these 3 half shekel coins. Let's have a look now at the Ramah, at the MISHNA Berura, sorry. MISHNA Berura Sivkotten Dalet. Beleil Purim. V'imdino Yiseinu Noagin Nitno B'Shachris Kodem Kriyas HaMegillah. The MISHNA Berura said, the Ramah said to give it before Mincha of Tanis Esther. Right, just right. And the MISHNA Berura says to give it in Shachris before reading the Megillah. We are knowing, says the MISHNA Berura, to give machzas hashekel before mincha, but b'shachris mois megillah. Okay, so the MISHNA Berura, so there's machlokes if one gives it during before mincha on Tanis Esther, or one gives it shachris on Purim, and others say the Loach Etzisol says the minhag is to give it after mincha on Tanis Esther. So one can give it any time, any of one of these 3 occasions when one gives it each place according to their minhag, either before mincha on Tanis Esther, after mincha on Tanis Esther, or on Shachris.
Again, men and women? Again, a question, men and women, what's the minhag with this?
Okay, so let's have a look now at the next MISHNA Berura. He's going to talk about exactly what you should give. So the Ramah said from 20 years and upwards. Zehu l'dash Rabbi Avadna beBartanura. אבל לתויס יונטב כוסף שהפוסקים חולקים, הספרו להיר, זה מבין י' ג' למעלה, שבכלל איש חייב מכסס השקל. The poskim say that from 13 and upwards, one is chayiv for machzas shekel, from age 13 already. ואליאבה כוסף דכל זה רק מדינה, אבל המנהג הוא ליתן אפילו בעד בונov הקטנים. Said the Rabbi that this is only the Ikra Din. The Ikra Din is either 20 or 13, but the minhag is to even give for small children. And even a pregnant woman gives for her vlad. For the unborn child. There says the Mishnah, if a father starts giving for his son a cotton, he shouldn't stop. So this minhag of giving for children, once one starts the minhag, one shouldn't stop. The next year one should give it as well. Okay?
Until the child is 20?
Yeah, well, strictly speaking, once he's 13, he'd have to give for himself.
Right.
So the minhag is to give even for children, even for unborn, even for children. It doesn't talk here about women, if women are chayiv. In terms of the machzas hashekel at the times of in the times of when they gave korbanos, it says that they could give, but they didn't have to. We didn't.
It wasn't an obligation, but it was.
Right. I think the minhag is to give for women as well. I'll look it up and I'll tell you on Sunday. We'll talk about women more. I'll see if we can find some sources for it. Okay, let's stop there.
So actually, by living in Israel, we got off easy since we have a machzit shekel. I think it's worth.
It's actually a shekel. Yes. A real shekel, you mean? So
Yeah. Plus,
it's exactly
I assume it's worth much less than $50.
Oh, he says it's cheaper.
There we get $50, right?
Yeah. The minhag is, just to add the 2 points. The minhag is the machzis shekel goes to, we give it to poor people. Right. So people also give it to institutions, poor people.
But generally, you give it in the shul, and then the shul distributes it. Right?
Yeah, the shul, and generally people in the shul put different containers for poor people. And also it says one shouldn't say, when one should put it down, one shouldn't say this is machzis shekel. Because when one says it's machzis shekel, then it could be that it's called one's makdeshit, one's making into kedusha, one that now has the kedusha, and that should be used for korbanos.
Right.
So one says zeichel machzis shekel. The point is as a remembrance to machzis shekel, and therefore one should say zeichel machzis shekel, not say that it is machzis shekel. Okay.